Hello everyone, welcome to Crypto Basics Coach podcast. I'm Marco. I'm here to help people navigate this topic so as to benefit from the opportunity this new technology provides and not get distracted or put off from the nonsense there is out there about crypto. Anything and everything presented and discussed, whether here or in our sessions, is of an educational nature and should never be taken as financial advice. Always do your due diligence and consult professionals before making any final decisions. Hi everyone. So here we go, last episode of a 7-part series. And this one, of course, is the most important one. And it's also where most of the vulnerabilities come from. Even if you have listened to the previous 6, this is the one that causes the most issues. And that, of course, is you. That's right, you. You're the weakest link because you're the one pressing buttons, making decisions, not being aware of things, not understanding things, maybe being careless, maybe feeling under pressured, whatever the case might be. At the end of the day, I've covered it before. If you talk to multi-million-dollar corporations that have an entire security division within their organization, you will find that you can put all the software you want, all the firewalls in place, all the IT technical solutions that you want, and you can have all the monitoring systems that you want. The ultimate weakest link in the entire organization is the individual. Okay, so let's talk about you for a little while here. Probably the most important thing that I would suggest is it comes down to understanding. Okay, understanding of the situation, understanding of perhaps the new sites that you're connecting to, or the new applications that you're using, or potentially even the new devices. Okay, it goes as far as understanding when you do have a problem and you reach out to support. What are they asking you to do? What's a remote session to your computer allowing them to potentially see or access? Okay, so even when dealing with support, you need to understand what is it that they're asking for, what should they need, what seems to be a bit weird that they're asking for with regards to protecting your information and your data. And also, how are you connecting? I've covered that off too. Are you just, out in the public and wherever you can get a free Wi-Fi, whatever the password is, could be a hotel, could be a shopping center, a food plaza, call it what you like, and you're just connecting all over the place to all sorts of things and not really understanding the exposure that you're risking yourself to. Okay, it can be the understanding of do you have everything on the one device, and that device happens to be your phone. You do all your banking, your surfing, your finances, your financial products are all available on your phone because, of course, it's convenient, yeah? And yet your phone is with you every single day in all these public environments that can potentially put that under threat. Okay? So, or, for some people, it's even as simple as understanding that when you go to an ATM, be careful either at the merchant or at an ATM that you're not using a device that's been placed there by hackers. Okay? So a lot of this starts with understanding, and then taking the self-responsibility of putting in the appropriate steps, being conscious and aware of your surroundings to then execute and do things in a safe manner. So I'm just going to go through some. Obviously, this is not exhaustive, but a common one is passwords. Okay, a lot of people use simple passwords because, well, they can remember them. Unfortunately, a simple password usually means it's easily hackable by software and other systems. So are you using a password generator, which is a piece of software that you have on your computer that generates very random passwords with all sorts of characters and so forth? And then, of course, how are you recording those passwords? Okay, are you being diligent and ensuring that they're perhaps locked up in a piece of software, or are you writing them down on a piece of paper, and then where are you putting that piece of paper? Okay, organizations all the time are reminding their staff not to write their passwords on a piece of paper and then having it on their petition. Okay, it's a pain. I get that. It's a pain. And that's where perhaps sometimes using fingerprints or facial recognition is a lot easier, a lot safer too, okay, with regards to who can get into your devices and you're not having to remember the password. Then you've got second factor authentication. Are you doing that via a key fob, which I've covered off in the past? Are you doing it through an application? Are you doing it through SMS, or are you doing it through email? Okay, understand how you're doing it, and what can potentially go wrong. So, for example, if your phone number was to be duplicated and hacked, it's called a SIM hack. If that was to be hacked, does that now expose you to your emails and the fact that you're authenticating everything via your phone? And again, it could be your email account or your mobile number. And all of a sudden, someone is able to now provide second factor authentication, because if they've hacked your phone number, then they're going to get all the SMSs, aren't they? So should you be using SMS as a second factor authentication? Again, understanding how things work and what might be simple and easy could actually be providing a channel for someone to hack you. Okay. One of the most common ones is, of course, clicking on links. And this is a tough one because, for example, where I previously worked, they sent out a fake test email that asked me to click on something. And unfortunately, the timing was absolutely precise, where I had just placed a couple of, especially before Christmas, before Easter, before major holidays, people do a lot of present buying, yeah? So they're expecting deliveries. And so what the work did was they generated a false email to test people, which was based around, if you're wanting an update or you're wanting to track your parcel, please click here. Okay, and I clicked. Totally absorbed in my own world about, some of the packages that I was expecting. I clicked on it. After I clicked on it, it only took about 3 seconds, and I realized, hang on a minute, why would they be sending this to me at work? I've not ordered anything with my work email, but of course it was too late. I'd already clicked. Okay, so be careful around festive seasons, around presents and so forth. Providing false links for people waiting on packages is especially with the amount of stuff being ordered online, that's a very simple way for hackers to potentially expose your laptop or your device. And so, be very, very careful. Make sure you are clicking on genuine links that have to do with genuine purchases, okay? And that goes for anything else, any other random link you might get. Even if you get emails that look really, really weird and they may have attachments like a PDF or a Word document, again, don't click on those attachments, okay? Most likely they're going to execute some sort of a file, and then you're going to have to run scans, and potentially it doesn't create too much damage. And these days, getting information off your laptop and devices doesn't take very long, okay? Things are very, very fast. So even if you were able to, what you believe to be, shut down your computer in 5 minutes, it might have already been compromised, okay? So be very, very careful about what you click on. Always verify, always. Obviously, if you're doing most of your living on one device and you leave your finances on another, then it's less likely that you're going to expose your financial data if you're using a separate device, which is what I encourage and what I've spoken about. Then responding to any actions or requests. Again, this is whether it's by support people or whether it's, by people you know or by people you don't know, right? Just be careful, when people are saying, yeah, sure, you can get your file from here, just click on this. And it could be Dropbox, it could be this, it could be that, or at least it's presented that way, okay? Be very, very careful what you click, whether it's a link or an attachment. And if you've got a pretty good idea, as soon as you see the header of the email, then just get rid of the email altogether, delete it, and then empty your trash. As best you can in situations, especially when things go wrong and you do genuinely need support, just stay calm and methodical, okay? Try and avoid stressful situations where perhaps your common sense is compromised and you start clicking on things because you're a little bit desperate or you're pressured to have to resolve something. Maybe it's due to time or whatever. And usually if someone is prompting you to make a decision because of some time issue, that's usually a good indicator that, it's probably a scam. Okay, so make yourself familiar with scams, make yourself familiar with the different types of scams that are out there so that you can prepare yourself for when you do get an encounter. And this can be by phone as well, phone calls, and then they get you to press different buttons. There are plenty of people that have lost money doing that type of activity. Another one that a lot of people I mentioned earlier aren't very good at is be aware of your surroundings. Okay, if let's just say you're at an airport, maybe you're traveling for business. Okay, and of course you might go to the business area, you sit down, and you may not be in a cubicle, you might be just sitting on a couch with a coffee table and you've got your laptop open, and you just are totally oblivion to the fact that there's people walking behind you. There could be people looking over your shoulder. They might see the password you type in or sensitive information that you're accessing. So always be aware of your environment and your surroundings, okay? If you can, put your back up against a wall, sit in a corner, And obviously, as I've mentioned before, connect via your own phone, tether to your own phone, and create a more secure connection than using the free Wi-Fi. Okay, especially these days where the phone bandwidth and the mobile system can actually provide a pretty good connection. In the old days, if you tried to do that, you just couldn't get enough data and you had to connect to the local network. That's not so much the case now with 5G and 6G coming. Okay, so use your phone, use the devices to connect that you know and trust. So be aware of your surroundings. Accepting updates. Another way that people can get fooled into, pressing the wrong button is that when you get an update for something, it's so easy these days for people to just press, yep, you've got phone updates, firmware updates, software updates. If you have a Microsoft device, you spend half your life on upgrades and updates. So understand that, and especially in crypto, you're going to have cold wallets, you might have a hot wallet. Yeah, you are going to have to update the GUI interface on your laptop to work with your cold wallet. You may have to update the firmware of your cold wallet. And again, as I've said before, always, always, always confirm that you're getting this from the correct source. And it doesn't hurt you to send an email off to say, hey, look, I've just received this. Is this legitimate from your company? Or go to their website and, jump onto their chat, whatever the case might be. But just verify. Don't just blindly update stuff, assuming that it's all okay and that it's come from the correct source. All right, just be careful. Again, when you're clicking these buttons, you're essentially executing commands, and you need to be absolutely sure that you know what you're doing and that you're not executing something that a hacker has sent you. Another common one that I see people messing up is backups. Okay, so two things here. First is that, are you even doing any backups? Okay, and are you doing them frequently enough? A lot of the Mac system is very simple to do. I'm not so familiar with Windows anymore, but I know there are tools out there where you can do weekly part backups, which means it only backs up things that have changed since the last full backup, or quite honestly, just do a full backup every week. Okay, and depending on the amount of space you've got, maybe after 3 or 4 months, you can start then to rotate the storage that you've got with overwriting the most recent backup with the oldest one that was of 3 months ago. Okay, for most people, a 3-month time frame where you're starting to overwrite your backups is probably sufficient, and usually weekly backups, again, are usually sufficient. At the very, very least, I'd say you should be doing a monthly backup. Stick it in your diary, stick it in your phone so you don't have an excuse that you don't remember, you can't forget, blah, blah, blah. Stick it on your phone diary and remind yourself to do a backup every week. Now, second question when I ask people, great, you do backup, phenomenal, you're already in the minority. Where do you put your backup? That external disk that you use, where do you put it? Guess what most people say? Well, it's on my desk, right next to the laptop. Well, if there's a break-in, if there's a fire, if there's flood damage, if, the internal sprinkler goes off, whatever the case might be, great that you've got a copy, but for the love of God, don't put your copy right next to the original. Okay, your copy, that external drive, should be situated somewhere else. Okay, one of things you can do is buy a fireproof safe and put that in the safe. You're only pulling it out once a month. Something else you can do if you're more savvy, you can set up a NAS. It's a network storage device. You can do a backup to that device, which sits in a completely different area of the house. Or what you could do is, if you've got the right people you trust, you set up a NAS for your house. Let's say your brother-in-law sets up their NAS for their house, and what you do is you back up onto theirs and they back up onto yours, meaning that you've now got location redundancy. Okay, so if something was to go wrong at your location, your data is sitting off. Use cloud if you trust it and if you feel comfortable. My problem is I don't know where my data is. I don't really like using it. Okay, but that's up to you. I know, again, a lot of people love using cloud for everything. And back to my first point, understand who's got the data, how the data is stored, who's got access to that data, before you just go willy-nilly applying, for extra storage in the cloud where you've got no clue where it is. Okay, so with backup systems, be diligent, be regular, be disciplined, but also be very mindful of where you're keeping your backup. If it's right next to your laptop, probably not a good idea. It's great if the laptop has a hardware failure, but it's not great if anything else happens. All right, so be mindful of that. One of the other areas about where you're a potential weakness is what are you saying to people? People you know, family members, let's just say your kids or even external family members as well. What are you speaking to them about? Right? Are you bragging about your portfolio? Are you telling them, I keep it here and I've got this and I've got that and yep, I've got the safe under the bed and blah, 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 blah. Yeah, maybe a very short, sharp piece of advice is shut your mouth. Stop telling people too much about your affairs. While relationships are great, probably nothing will go wrong. But trust me, I've seen plenty of families completely come apart at the seams when the relationship fails and all of a sudden information that you happen to have shared in good times potentially gets used against you in bad times. Okay? So be very frugal with who you talk to and about what and how much you tell them. Okay? Especially about your portfolio and especially about how your setup is at home or in other locations. Okay, especially for instance, where do you keep your seed phrases? How many copies have you got? That's no one else's business. That belongs to you and your partner, and potentially a solicitor, or at least in a will, in an appropriate document. Okay, so be careful about that. I've seen many people get unstuck with that particular one. And at the end of the day, I'm going to sort of wrap it up here is, and of course, you can always reach out to me if you've got questions, queries, or something else you want me to cover, whether it's in the personal sessions or more in general. But at the end of the day, you have to, whether you like it or not, you have to accept the fact that we are in a more and more and more IT computer world. Okay, so whether you like it or not, things are going to keep changing, more devices, more technology, more applications, and you need to keep your knowledge up. Okay. Being oblivious is no excuse, and the hackers just wouldn't care. And once you've lost your money, you've lost your money. Okay, so you need to get your head screwed on right, behave accordingly, behave responsibly, don't be afraid of asking questions, just make sure you're getting your information from good sources and that you're doing the right thing. Nothing is 100% proof, but at the very least, if you're aware of the things I've covered in this session, you can start to set yourself up. And this, to be honest, even if you're not investing in crypto and so forth, everything I've just said still applies. Everything I've just said still applies. At the end of the day, you are going to have bank accounts, self-managed supers, retirement funds, etc., etc. So one way or another, you're going to get exposed to this sort of stuff, and everything I've covered in this 7-part series applies. Okay? Again, don't be overawed and overwhelmed with, how much I've covered. Just go bit by bit, even if you make yourself a big list, and then slowly start ticking through that list. Slowly start adopting new behaviors if the current behaviors you've got are putting you, your finances, potentially even your family at risk. Okay? So guys, I hope you found this series, 7-part series, useful. I'm going to be looking at, in the future, using some AI-generated tools to help me create some content to give you guys more and more value. Hope you've enjoyed it. You know where to reach me, and I look forward to talking to you next week. Take care, guys. Cheers. If you found this information helpful and are interested in a more hand-holding approach while navigating this complex industry, please visit cryptobasicscoach.com, that's basics with an S, and book a session. The first 30-minute session is free, and we can get to know each other, talk about what your aims are, what you're looking to do, and how I might be able to possibly help. I've helped people get started, set up exchange accounts, wallets, DeFi platforms, and general knowledge. Look forward to speaking with you. Cheers.